How are you doing,
Um,
my friend?
I'm doing pretty well. How are you?
I'm excited. I'm really excited about this too. It's a different slant to my amazing authors,
Yes.
for sure. So let's do this and enjoy and educate everyone as to the magic that is Alyson. I always say this is our room where we get to create magic through inspiration and inspiring others. So there might be someone out there who's listening and who's just might want to be doing a screenplay or
Hmm.
a graphic novel, comic book that's beautiful. I saw the graphic is on the invitation to join us this afternoon, but I will be up again on my page. But it's called Reburn,
Hmm.
and away we go. I'm going to welcome everyone to the 8th episode of the Amazing Authors on IG Live, where the storyteller becomes a story. That's my favorite part. I'm always a big advocate of getting to know the author behind the words or the pictures for this matter. And, we have the amazing, like I said, Alyson Shelton here. She is, like I said, the co-author of Reburn. It's a comic, and there's so much more to her as well. It's a good thing we have this place to have these kind of conversations because I love to showcase other people's beautiful work. So it's time to celebrate you, Alyson. And I've had, just so everyone knows, for like point of reference where these magical connections can actually happen, I had the beautiful pleasure to meet Alyson on my IG author pod and a lot of other amazing authors there too. I was interviewed on her series, Where I'm From, and you guys have to follow her and see her there because it really is a wonderful opportunity to see the poetry of so many amazing people as she hosts and guides everyone through. And also, I'm so honored to have you here on my show today. So thank you, Alyson, for joining me.
Thank you, Meg. It's good to be here. I'm excited to chat. What are we talking about? What's your first
What are we
question?
talking about? Well, let me introduce you first so everyone knows more about your incredible career, and we'll go from there. So everyone, Alyson is the writer and director of the award-winning feature Eve of Understanding. I got a glimpse of that. You guys are going to like it, so go check that out. She wrote and created, like I said, the comic Reburn, which successfully funded issues number 1 and 2 on Kickstarter during 2021. Amazing. There's actual ways that you can make your dreams or fund your dreams to life. And that is certainly what she, in fact, did. The art for Reburn issues number 3 and 4 is close to completion. So congratulations to you. She's prepping for a Kickstarter launch in March 2022. Her original screenplay, this is exciting because I love movie makers more than anything. The Night We Met was selected for the second round in the Sundance Creative Producer Lab. Now, you're going to have to tell us all about that as well. So let me just be clear. It's the 2021 Sundance Creative Producers Lab. So you'll explain all of this. But
Sure.
additionally, her essays, this is not it. This woman is so creative that she has essays that appeared in the New York Times, Miss, Hobart Pulp, Survivor Lit, Little Old Lady, Comedy Blog, and others. So there is no limit to the expanse of her creativity. I definitely will advise you guys at the end of the interview to follow her on Twitter and Instagram at by Alyson Shelton, where you can watch and participate, like I said, in her IG Live series inspired by the George Ella Lyon poem, Where I'm From, which I had that pleasure. So before I go on, oh my God, where do you have the time?
Um, yeah, that's a good question. I used to be one of those people who needed to have time, like an hour or two set aside to do something, and I've gotten much better at, okay, I have 15 minutes. What am I going to do? Which seemed inconceivable to me before I had children, and that's what life becomes like because you just get done what you can get done, you know.
I have to shout out that fact, and I have my friend Suzanne talks about pomodoros, right? So
Yeah,
I got a
yeah,
little timer,
yeah.
pomodoro timer.
I've
You get things done when you have a time limit, right? You get
You
things, you
do.
push it to go, right?
Hmm. And I've done that a few times because I took a class. Have you ever taken any classes at Hedgebrook? They have online classes, and it's a writing fellowship. It's like the ultimate writing residency. And I took some of their online classes right at the beginning of lockdown. They were sort of revisiting some of their classes, and I took a class with Natalie Serber, and who's a memoirist, and she is a big proponent of Pomodoro technique. And I've
awesome.
done it a few times. I've tried to convince my kids to do it with me.
They don't do anything you ask them to
Well, no, they
do.
do. They did
Oh,
it. They've done it a couple times, and it was really fun to like then come back together. Actually, one of my essays I wrote during that time, inspired by what my kid wanted me to write about. That was
oh
how
my
I
gosh.
got them to
Okay.
do it.
How old are your children? I have to ask.
13 and 10.
Okay, so you have to tell us all, maybe in a podcast, how we inspire our children to
Mm.
do those things that are going to enrich them in life. It sounds like you've done a great job, and they're actually, I
I'm
think that
trying. We'll
you're a
see.
good teacher. You're a great teacher. You're a great You're a great
Thank you.
teacher. I would love to have you expand on both whatever first, Reburn, Eve of Understanding, The Night We Met.
Mm.
Like, so for instance, I will say my understanding is that you did first of all,
Well,
which came first?
yeah, I guess I could just kind of give you a quick rundown. So in college, I minored or whatever in creative writing for the media, which is what it was called, which was like screenwriting and television
Okay.
writing. And I had a wonderful mentor there her name was Del Chapman, and she was, really encouraging of my writing. And up to that point, I had taken other writing courses and not been so encouraged. So her words and her encouragement meant a lot. And I ended up going on and getting an MFA from USC in cinematic arts, which is film and television production. They changed the name to make it sound fancier.
Love it.
And so I always wanted to, well, always from a young age wanted to make film and television. And that's what I pursued when I got out of my master's program. And I worked in the business, as does my husband. And it was frustrating, which I think is probably an understatement. And so I kept writing screenplays and eventually decided to fundraise and make our own feature. So I wrote and directed it, and it was an amazing experience. And we did the whole festival circuit, and I was like, oh, I'm going to, then the next thing's going to happen. I'm going to get repped. I'm going to sell stuff, the whole deal. And that didn't exactly happen. I got a lot of positive feedback, but it did not happen the way I hoped it would. And then, which was difficult. I was still working, but it wasn't what I wanted to do. And then we decided to have children, and I sort of, in a relief, stepped back from the whole thing and was honestly grateful to have the opportunity to stay home with our kids and be a parent. So I did that.
So the screenplay that you're speaking to is
Mm-hmm.
The Night We Met.
I didn't write that until later. The one I'm talking about is Eve of Understanding. That's the film that we made together. My husband edited it. I wrote and directed it. Our good friend and collaborator, Jen Prince, produced it. So it was a real USC labor of love.
So exciting.
It was a very positive experience. And the lead actress was incredible. And it could have gone sideways, but it didn't. So I'm always grateful that we had that experience.
So where can anyone contact or find the Eve of Understanding?
Where can you find? That's a good question. You can see the
if you
trailer on IMDb. I don't know. You could DM me. I might be able to find it, but it used to be on Netflix and Amazon, but now it's a little bit older, so I don't know where it lives now, to be honest. So I would have to look into it
Okay,
if you're interested in seeing it.
I definitely am interested. I absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, I'll look
and let
into
me
it.
ask you something about. I love the fact that you were collaborating with first your husband, and then have such great talent from USC. I know that is the preeminent school of cinematic, everything. So I'm sure, like whatever they say, whatever your work is probably a star everywhere else, and it just needs to have the audience to see it so that we can put the light on you and shine, because I know how talented you are.
Oh, thanks, Meg.
But what I definitely would love to have the link, and I'll put it on my page so people can find it, certainly in my newsletter for sure, so that that would be great. I love the idea of trying to get into the writer's mind. And okay, so you raised your children, and you have this original screenplay, The Night We Met. So how did that come about? And was that before or after Reburn?
It was, well, when my younger child went to kindergarten, I started thinking about, oh, maybe I do have time to write again. What do I want to do? And I was really honestly worn out from my experiences before. And I had some friends who kept encouraging me to write. Jen, who produced Eve of Understanding, and Jessica, who I make Reburn with. They were the two of the main people who did that. And So I had written a screenplay in the same world as Reburn years ago.
Okay.
And I thought, well, this is a world I want to revisit. I'm intrigued by it. I have gotten good feedback about it. But originally the screenplay was about like a 20-year-old because I was like a 20-year-old. And when I returned to it, I was just not, I wanted to write more about the mom, this woman in her 40s. And so that's what I did. I wrote a screenplay about May, who's the main character of Reburn. And her children are still huge parts of the story, but they're not the main character. So I wrote a screenplay and I showed it to Jessica. And she was like, you should make this into a comic book. And I was like, sure, I have no idea how to do that. That's a really cool idea. And she has worked on television shows that were originally comic books. So she knew of what she was speaking, but I just really had no idea how to proceed.
So
that's
Reburn. So the screenplay first, then Reburn second. Oh wow! Because I had the privilege of seeing Reburn, and it's really good. And I'm not really a comic book person, but the world is, and it's interesting how it's easier to flesh through the information when it's in comic book form, and it really is fascinating. It's fascinating. So tell me, so 1 and 2 is out for Reburn. So where can people get that?
So you can follow us on Instagram at Reburn Comic and DM us. Also, we have a Kickstarter starting next month where 1 and 2 will be available, and 3 and 4. And so we'll have the whole arc, which is the first part of the story. Like in comic books, you kind of tell them in arcs. So that's the first one. So there's a beginning, middle, and end. There'll be some, reveals and twists and all those things. And at the end, you should feel satisfied, but also want to know what's next. If we've done our job, that's what happens. So you can DM us for 1 and 2, definitely, or also the Kickstarter is next month.
That's really important, everybody. So it's really good. I mean, and this is coming from someone who's not readily, I pick it up and I was like, wow, this is really and I think that's fascinating when someone who's not like really into that genre is actually interested in the genre. Really good job, right? I'm kind of fixed in the whole nonfiction self-help world. That's kind of my jam, and then throw in a couple of really good, wonderful fiction novels, But this is really good. This is that. But like I said, engaging the visual. So tell me, so the night we met, that did really well. That did really well.
And we're still working on it, and trying to make it into a film. Making a film is a process, so we continue to revise and submit and fundraise, and I believe in it. I'm very proud of it. It's a story about a woman in the 60s who's struggling with her mental health and the people in her life who take advantage of those struggles and may lead her to believe she's crazy because it benefits them, and it's a thriller. So we're trying to sort of wonder what's real and what's not, and so it should be entertaining, but also address like larger issues of how women and other marginalized groups have had their sanities and realities questioned to benefit others monetarily.
Total gaslight.
Yeah.
Back to me. What a timely film. This would be really apropos for the times that we are currently living, right? Because so many people, are trying, they're very manipulative in the world. It's really the mental wellness concept, and how important it is, and how really important it is to know how others are in fact using it against you to get a one-up. I love that. So this is something that's in the process. So we might just see this.
You might see it. You will. Let's think positively. Okay. You will see it someday.
I know you will. I know you will, because clearly your path has been one of persistence and perseverance and quality writing. Because you just started. Let's go back to your new Instagram live. You just started it, and you're on like episode what? 8, 9?
We just did 17, I think, with
17?
Peg yesterday, who's here right now.
Hi, I love it, Peg.
We just did 17, I think, yesterday. And it was one of those things, Meg, it was just very serendipitous. I was in a workshop with a writer I admire. We did the Where I'm From exercise, which is based on George L. Lyon's poem, and you have prompts. And I was like, this would be a really cool way to get writers and people I know to share themselves and share their story, because I do really think, and as I think you do, that we all have a story to tell and our story is important. And I think people get intimidated by writing and think, oh, I'm not a writer, I'm not a poet, I don't really have anything to say. And I think that we all do. I think we all have a unique take on the world and our experiences. So
I think the beautiful thing, and if please, you guys have to go see her archives of her shows.
you can come watch Meg's.
Yeah, you can watch mine. Not just for me, but you guys will see. You know, the reality is when you step aside the fear and put your vulnerability out there and actually share from a place of service, really, you know, to yourself too, because when you're thinking about where you're from, I think we all, it's kind of like a cornerstone of where we're going. You know, when we know where we're from, we own it and we're not ashamed of it and we own it. That's when the story can be told. And I love how you do it and you offer that safe space. And really a lot of, it's been women mostly. I mean, I don't think I've seen a man.
There has not been a man yet. I have one scheduled for March. I think we might have our first Brave Soul in March. So awesome. Men are more than welcome. However you identify, you're welcome. Please come to my Instagram and you can, anyone's open. It's open to everyone. So if you're interested, DM me and we'll get you. Yeah.
And tell the story and get it out there. And it's just, you know, it's one of those, like, and I will like to say, I'd like to point this out because this is so you. This is you. You have an idea and you're like, and then you put it into the next inspired step in action. And everyone like wonders like how the main manifesto, like how do you have this creative content out there? How did you get a 2021, you know, Sundance Creative Producer Lab honor? Well, because you took the next inspired step. And maybe you can tell us how it got to Sundance, which is a really wonderful. Yeah. I know that the whole festival.
It's a word that means a lot to people and an institution that means a lot to people. So first of all, I have applied, as has Jess and Jen, to Sundance so many times and been rejected. So I think that's an important, I actually saw on Twitter, I think yesterday, someone posting, how many times have you been rejected from writing fellowships? Just like as an encouragement, you know, so they didn't feel alone. And I would say Sundance has been that. I can't even count how many times I've been rejected. So, and there's all different programs. You know, there's the producing fellowship, the writing fellowship, all different things. And so we applied to this one, which is producing and with the script. And yes, we got into the didn't get chosen, but the round right before that. But even getting that kind of validation from Sundance felt good.
Honey,
you know, to be honest. Yeah. So it felt good. It felt like a pat on the back for sure.
You know, I live my life as if everything's rigged in my favor. It's the Ruby quote, and I love that. And I know that I've posted that on our Instagram many times. But the reality is this is perfect for this. This is exactly where it needed to be for that. So someone who's going to help you put it on the big screen is going to see it there so that we can all benefit from the beauty of what it is to share that message with so many. The thing is that no one ever, you know, like the crystal ball, no one gives you that. You just have to go with your intuition as to where it goes. And I love, as long as you never get, because you don't give up. Because look at you, you would not get to where you are in this particular, you know, look, you're not, you and I live in totally different areas too. So I'm sharing you with my Miami people. And this is a really awesome person to know because her creativity astounds me. And the bottom line is whatever inspires someone else. But that whole world comes to a Instagram live screen. The two of us have a conversation. And I get to say, oh my God, you guys have to, the Eve of Understanding for sure. I looked at the IMDb. That was what I saw it. You have to go check it out because you got to bring some more, you know, kickback to that. You know, it's always the audience needs to know so the audience can go. That's what I always say.
Yeah.
If the audience doesn't know you're there, what are they going to do? They know they couldn't live without you. You know, it's like, I didn't know anything about you, but when I did, I couldn't live without you. You know, the whole thing. And I'm not saying in a codependent, crazy kind of way. I'm just saying that my life is better.
I didn't think you were. I think it's true. I think that's honestly one of the biggest struggles of being a creative is just finding your audience and finding people who your work speaks to them because they're out there, you know, but it's just like, there's just so much wonderful content out there. So it can be difficult.
So what we'll do, a beautiful thing right now is because we're doing act as if it's already happened. So this is already in the process. So we're all going
Mm-hmm.
to act as if that our audience is going to find us. The
Mm-hmm.
audience is coming and they're going to find you. And it's going to be this effortless whole, dynamic where you get to do this dance and they get to join you, because they've been like, oh, like they saw, so I think that's really kind of a beautiful thing is that any readers out there who want to look at Reburn, I invite you to go DM Alyson to learn more about the Kickstarter that's starting, as well as everything else magical that she's doing with this beautiful screenplay that's on its way. Everything. Find her, because really it might trigger your own dream to come to
Mm-hmm.
reality. And I love that, because once you learn more about someone that's interesting, then there's that curiosity clue that you get to pass through, and you can at least collaborate in a way that your inspiration can benefit another. So back to you. What are the 3 takeaways that you've had so far, having like 3 different, I would say 3 different
Mm-hmm.
platforms? You have the comic
Mm-hmm.
book. You have, the first one was an actually produced whole feature, Eve of Understanding, correct? And then you
Yeah.
have this whole kind of like a, Reburn is feeding into the night we met. I'm sorry, the night we met. Yes. And then, what comes from that, you have this IG live. So tell me, what are the 3 takeaways you at this point in your life, talking to me, that you can share with us that have been your favorite part of this creative journey?
Oh, my favorite parts. I thought you were going to ask me like lessons learned. Okay, my
Well,
favorite
you can
parts.
do whatever you want. If that's where you're going, I'll say I'll support that.
No, I love saying my favorite parts. But my favorite part is collaboration for sure, 100%. It is, it makes the process such a joy. And to be honest, writing essays and writing a memoir, it's hard for me. It's lonely, and I miss the artists and the directors and the producers. And I actually have talked to Elise, who's the artist on Reburn, about potentially doing illustrations for my memoir, because I can't just be alone out here. I mean, it's really vulnerable. So collaboration is my favorite thing. And I think along with collaboration, it's we make each other better. Like the material gets stronger and speaks to more people, and it's the greatest feeling. So that's the best thing. And then I'm going to do one of the things I've learned, because the thing that really changed, the 2 things that come to mind that really have changed my writing life or my creative life is, one, when I came back to writing after I had kids, I stopped thinking about what the market wanted, which is something that I went to USC, and you talk a lot about that. And I wrote primarily for an audience that wouldn't be interested in what I had to say. I was like, how do I make it like so these people will be interested? And it's like, they're not. So just stop doing that. Write, find your voice and write from there. Stop trying to make a voice that people are going to like, because they don't actually know. Really. So that was a big game changer. I started thinking about, I'm going to write for my friends. I'm going to write for me. What do I want to see? What do I want to read? And then the other thing was getting comfortable with rejection, which is such a hard, painful thing.
Yeah.
Because we just want to be loved, right? Like
Yeah.
we just want people to be like, you're amazing. I love this. I couldn't live without it. But it takes a while to get there. And I've been writing a long time. And rejection doesn't always mean you're bad. It just means this isn't the right place for you. I mean, it doesn't even mean you're bad. It just means this isn't the place for you right now. And I got in this group where you're trying to get 100 rejections in a year, and it really changed my relationship to rejection. It was like, oh, okay, great. I'm closer to 100 when I get a rejection, as opposed to I'm rejected. Nobody wants me, because it is a numbers game. Yeah. Like there is a part of it that's just, the more you put yourself out there, the more likely you are to be seen and accepted. And I mean, you got to put good stuff out there, but still, it's still a numbers game.
I love that you say it's like not rejecting me, and I also love the fact that it's course correction, right? Like, okay, maybe this is not the store. Maybe I haven't figured out what I need to get through this door. So let me go somewhere else. So like, I always like see, remember those games when we were kids, since you were like a comic book person too. Yeah. Like, you know, you had to figure out the riddle before you got through the door, and you couldn't get through the door bufore the riddle was found out. I know I say this constantly when I talk about it, but it's true. It's like, you don't want to win the lottery before you know how to manage your money. Because then you're going to lose all your money, and all that work, you're like, what happened? You know, you're like, and I always tell my kids, you don't want to peak in high school because you don't really know what to do with it. Like there's so much more out there that you don't want to stop there and just say, I'm done, right? But the beautiful thing about what you're saying, and I love all of it, is that you have to learn your voice, which you have done. You're fine tuning it now, and then on the journey and how it goes, you get to see how it unfolds and develops too, because you now know who that is. You're not writing for anyone but your people, right? You're writing, and there's people going to show up because there's a lot of, there's like 1 billion people in the world, more, you know, like,
more.
Like, I'm like, there's got to be someone who wants to be with me. All of that will like turn me off. It's true. It's like somebody's gonna have to, you know, like, I mean, even your family is like, I always say the family is, at least mine, they're the ones that are just the most brutal, you know, and I'm looking past those, you know. But anyway, so I just want to congratulate you, really congratulate you for not giving up on your dreams, and they're continuing. I mean, so I want to go back to where the audience members can find you, because I really think it's important that they know where to find you. We had this great interview and that nobody knows where you are. So go ahead and share.
Well, you can follow me on Instagram at by Alyson Shelton, which is, my name is spelled with a Y, so BYALYSONSHELTON. And then I also have a website, AlysonShelton.com. Those are the easiest ways to find me. And I also want to give a shout out that I have the support of my spouse, and, you know, because it does take time, and I'm not having to work multiple jobs to survive. And so I want to, you know, I know that it is a privilege to even have the time and space, even if it's 15 minutes here and there, to write. So I do want to acknowledge, like, you know, the gift and the privilege I have that to be able to do that with my time, with this free time that I do have, that I can use it that way, is a real gift.
That's a beautiful thing, to acknowledge your partner in life. You know, it's a good thing. And I shout out to him, because that's pretty impressive that, and you know what, I will say this, and all the fruits of both your labors are jointly shared as well. And your kids see that. And the fact of the matter is that they both are these creative spirits in the house. I don't even know, like, what do you, like, you know, the standard of, like, I'm sure is here and then elevated to like even higher for sure. You know?
Well, I hope that whatever they do, they know we're proud of them, and then there's no pressure to do this. In fact, when they show interest in it, we're like, are you sure?
You're like,
so you don't want to be a biologist? I know that has its own competition and stuff, but I'm very familiar with this, and there's a lot.
Oh wow! Well, that's great, and you certainly are able to navigate and help your kids as well as you want. Certainly, like, I'm telling you, you got the teacher. I said you have to do a next podcast on how you get your children to be inspired by it. That would be great. I'll take it. I'll watch it. You'll give me the information for sure. So, as far as, you know, I just want to end, because, you know, I'm a big, like, intentional person. What are your hopes and dreams for this journey of yours?
I just, you know, I really just hope to continue growing my audience and reaching more people and encouraging people to tell their own stories. And yeah, I'd love it if I want Reburn to get a publisher. That's on the list right now, so that we can get the collected issues into bookstores and comic stores, and to continue writing it and not having to hustle for the money and the funds each time, but to just be supported in doing that. And I really would love if The Night We Met got made, and because it would be an incredible, because Jessica, who's my partner on Reburn, is the director, and Jen, who was my partner on Eve of Understanding, is the producer, along with her producing partner Jennifer. Lots of J's. And
love it.
Just to get to work with these women who have been such huge supporters of mine, I can't overstate what a gift that is. And yeah, I'd like to finish this book I'm working on.
Your memoir.
That's the most daunting one.
Well, I'm sure it's, how far along have you gotten so far on your memoir?
How far along have I gotten, Meg? That's the question. What in here is the actual book, and what is just me figuring out what the book is? That's the part.
Good. You're in that space. Ooh,
yeah. Well, that's the space as far as I can tell. It's like, is this the book, or is this just me figuring out the book? Because I like structure a lot, and so I want it to be a structure that speaks to me. So that's
Well, one of the beautiful things that somebody inspired me long ago, I don't remember who, was if I felt stuck before I go to bed, I write a question to the universe and I said, give me whatever inspiration I need. So when I wake up in the morning, it'll be as if I'm a genius. So I wake up and then I probably don't sleep the night. Right?
I was actually going to ask you that. Do you sleep after you do that? Because I can't do that because then I wake up at like 3 a.m. like, oh, this is the thing, you know, and now I can't wake up at 3 a.m. and start writing like I could when I was in my 20s and didn't have kids. I used to do that all the time. Wake up, write all night.
No, but the coolest, I definitely have my phone or a piece of paper nearby because if I 3 o'clock and I convince myself to go back to sleep and I'll remember it in the morning, it never is there. It's like the most frustrating thing. So I will actually write in like quotes, like I'll write like snippets. Okay. So I can at least somehow like spin off of that. You know what I mean? So I won't lose it. But yes, you're right. Sometimes you don't sleep, but I guess for the magic and the work, it's worth it, right?
It's worth it.
And I
you just have to select which nights you do it. You can't do it every night.
Yes, when you have to get up at the crack of dawn the next day and drive all your children from here to Kingdom Come, don't do that. We don't support that because I don't want anyone to get hurt on the road. Right. For sure. But I definitely support the creative journey. I love yours so far. I've loved getting to know you. You are a magical person.
Oh, thank you,
wonderful. Meg. But you're a wonderful person too. So I hope all your dreams, and if I can help anyway and so much, you know, I hope they come true. I want to say books change lives, stories change lives. It's great writing that stirs our emotions and makes us feel. And I encourage everyone to go and do that. And these authors like Alyson, who are the vulnerable ones, they're changing the world. So yes, keep your eyes open for The Night We Met. Anyone out there who's interested in making that into a feature film, I say yay. I say that it's necessary for the times we're living. Keep making a difference with the work and your words that get us to think. Alyson, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Meg. It's been a real pleasure.
Awesome.
I love talking. So thank you so much.
Awesome. And everyone have a wonderful afternoon. This is Amazing Authors, episode 8. Go write your story. We need to hear it. Wishing you all bliss. Have a good one. All right. Take care.
Bye. Thanks.